Hello, my name is Francis Fox, and we are here today with Francis Fox News from Other Dimensions. I want to talk today about portals and implants and planetary influences. So, what does that mean? I want to talk about it means I want to talk about what it has been like to be a human being on planet Earth. We've been taught in metaphysics that the number one law is free will. God gave us free will. Maybe God should have given us an instruction manual on our energy system, all the energy bodies. In the original Lord's Prayer, they do refer to those bodies. And it is particularly helpful, my discovery of the mind strings, which is what string theory is based on, that they are referred to in the original Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. But we don't learn the original Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. For some reason, we are taught the Greek translation, which not even remotely refers to the energy system, the strings, the knotting of the strings. It's like two different prayers. One is empowering, the original in Aramaic. The translated through Greek is intended for the humans to feel victimized, to have to ask God for help. Whereas the original Aramaic says, don't disassociate. What Eric told, his core message, don't disassociate, be in the moment. Now. That's what's in the original Lord's Prayer. Who decided to throw it into a Greek translation, of which I'm sure there were many, and chose the one that was the most incompatible with the original intention of the Lord's Prayer, which is to help humans have power, to understand that they are very powerful. Who made those decisions? I don't think it is a single person. Knowing the way the spirit world works, it was a whole series of people, most, if not all of them, not ill-intended, but yes, ill-guided. So I'm going to jump back and forth with several things because it's the way I deliver the best information. If you want something systematic and 1, 2, 3, 4, this is probably not the place for you. Portals. We have a lot of portals into our system. We have a system that's semi-closed, very permeable, very breakable, and then we have portals that are built in. Mouth portal, each nostril is a portal, the ears are a portal, the eyes are a portal, vagina, rectum, portal, belly button is a portal. That portal had a tube attached to it that infused it with energy that wasn't its own. The good news is that the energy it was infused with was from its mother. We have many cords, tubes that are inserted into us. See, now I'm having a problem here. Something is stuck in my throat. I was fine until I start to talk. Those are the spirits that are still able to get to me so that I don't deliver this information. So we're supposed to be a closed system. I'm going to show you what the system looks like. You've probably seen it before if you've followed me. And I don't understand why people don't have this tacked up to their refrigerator and their bathroom mirror so that they can incorporate this information, which gives you a lot of power. So you have all these bodies, including the one that's the Merkaba at the end, that's the two triangles, that I'm sure they're talking about that all being a whole conspiracy thing. You all have one. So if that's a conspiracy thing, then you're all part of the conspiracy. And yeah, we are part of the conspiracy. We're victims. We victimize others without being aware. We're victimized. It's a bit of a royal mess. So here we are at end times. It's finishing. What we are finding out, people like me, is that humans have always had access to superpowers, and that the part of history that shows superpowers we call mythology. Because in that way, we put a distance and people don't start to ask, well, why can't I do that? And how about my third eye? Well, those that know about chakras talk about their third eye. They want to open it up, and then you take toothpaste with fluoride in it, which shuts it down because you don't know. And then most people don't know that science found cells, eye cells, in the middle of the forehead. And their conclusion was, wow, maybe we had a third eye in the middle of the forehead. We did. It's still there, except I don't know if it's receded or if it was always receded. And it's important that it be opened up because the third eye gives you an awful lot of information, which is power. Information is power if you use it properly, if you apply it, what you see, and you don't hide from it. So there is so much that we don't know and so much that victimizes us that we are nowhere near what it is that we could be if we had understood this or we had had our psychic abilities awakened, and if we were allowed to, if those psychic abilities, that extra information were respected. There has been a lack of respect for people that are very psychic. The government does not disrespect them. They go after the families that are very psychic. They go after the kids because the kids are all born very psychic, increasingly psychic. So again, I'm not going to be systematic in the way I'm speaking. Yesterday, I went to pick up some food that I had ordered. Actually, it was a smoothie that I was having for breakfast. And there was a young child there, probably 2. And of course, as all young children, the kid is a nervous wreck. And you're like, oh, God, why can't the kid just kind of sit still? Well, the mother gave the child an iPad, and that kind of entertained the child. But I had to wait for my smoothies, so I just kind of tuned in to the kid the same way I did one time when I was in an interview, and before me they were working with somebody who trained monkeys. It was really interesting going into the monkey's mind. I'll tell you about that in a minute. So I'm standing there and I'm tuning into the little kid and his thoughts. The little kid, the mother gave him his bowl of fruit, and the little kid was looking at the strawberry and saying, why did they put that in the strawberry? And he was referring to some kind of chemical preservative, something. And then he looked at his mother and in his head, he was saying, she'd be a lot happier if she did da, 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 da. This is a 2-year-old. He's watching something on the screen and he's having all these opinions that were accurate on what he was watching on the screen and what was going on around him. 2 years old. And he was able to assess that there were preservatives in his fruit, that his mother was unhappy because of this and this and this, and if she did this and this and this, she would feel happier. And I thought, my God, no wonder the world is a mess. The children, I don't know if it's been since the 90s, and the children that were being born, the souls that were being born, were more evolved. And they called them indigo children, and then they called them the emerald children, and then the crystal children, and because more evolved and more evolved and more evolved. So you want to tell me how a kid like that can possibly fit into a world where everything is a lie? Everything is a lie. There is practically nothing that is not a lie. They do fit in, but they don't really fit in. What they do is they beat themselves up, they close their third eye, and then they get their addictions, which at this point is the computer, cell phones, etc. But just looking at that child yesterday, I said, excuse me, continues. Actually, I think somebody is right now doing black magic, and this is that's cobwebs, which obviously I don't have cobwebs on top of me, but I do right now on my mouth. Renee, I'm going to talk about you in a minute. Don't worry about it. You and your wife, Mei Ling, got a message for you. So stop with the black magic. Let me finish with what I'm saying. I'll get to what I'm going to say about you. Then you can figure out what you can do about it. Okay, so how do these kids survive? They're not surviving well. Those of us that are older and a lot younger than me look at the kids and go, we weren't like that. No, we weren't like that. We lived in a different world. We had a contact with nature. What is health? A balance of the four elements. If you don't know that after seeing several of my chats, then I haven't done a good job. They have less time in contact with nature than prisoners in jail. In jail, the prisoners are required to have 2 hours outdoors every day. I guess they figured out that they would go absolutely crazy and be a lot harder to handle. We don't do that with the kids today. The kids don't go outside. They don't get the balance of the elements. They get the fire element from all the radiating devices. And if we had the knowledge or applied ancient knowledge, we would have taken care of that. We would have made provisions. You can have this many hours and then you do this. Oh, the house is full of Wi-Fi, then we need to play the frequency of trilling because that protects the mind streams, which is what the fire and the radiation affects. No, 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 no. Somebody does not want us to be well. Somebody does not want us to be thoughtful. And I am not going to blame the government. I'm actually going to blame our lack of information on the human energy system. What happened to my tissue? Here it is. On the fact that nobody is trained having to do with the spirit world. So they say Jesus Christ came to lead people to the light, but they don't know that Jesus Christ also came to lead spirits to the light, because if they're still hanging around, it's because they didn't go to the light. And those spirits that are misguided by spirits that are more savvy than them make our life difficult. And now then we have all this, the ones that have always come in, but very few of them, the succubus and the incubus. Even the Catholic Church has them as part of their classification. And then you have all the new ones, the aliens coming in, that obviously come in as spirits that can shapeshift. What does that mean? They can change their shape at will. And the whole issue of psychological, I'm just going to talk. I bet you that half the psychologists and psychiatrists that practice and consider themselves to be very good do not know the definition of the word emotion. Do you know the definition of the word emotion? In the dictionary, it means to emote, to put out. You emote on stage. You express yourself. What does society do? It doesn't allow us to emote. We have to be civilized. We can't be running around crying just because we're sad. And we can't show people we're angry at them. Lying. It's all lies. It's all lies. I agree that you shouldn't hit somebody that's upset you. And I agree that you shouldn't spend your entire time crying, even if you have a massive depression and you have a legitimate reason. So you have to have ways to process those emotions. Psychiatrists and psychologists don't know the definition of the word emotion, and they don't let you emote. The psychiatrist gives you stuff for chemically making sure that you shut down. And the psychologist will tell you, you can't be running around screaming. Let's talk about that. Well, guess what? Talking is very intellectual. Your emotions, you have an entire separate energy body. That's your emotional energy body, traditionally called the astral body. And then what I discovered, and there's no question that I'm accurate, your astral emotional body is your spirit, which is not your soul. Your soul is much deeper. It's your spirit. And so when somebody dies, oh, his spirit came to me last night in a dream. Oh, somebody saw his spirit at the funeral. Oh, there's spirits hanging around the cemetery. Yes. But that person that died had a spirit body while he was alive and was probably fully functional. As an example, I'm going to tell you something that I learned to do. This is a testimony not to how fabulous I am. This is a testimony to how incredible the power of intention is. The story 30, 40 years ago, conference on transpersonal psychology, Stan Groff, and the lead speaker, Saturday night dinner, says he's going to give everybody a healing. There's 500 people in the room. I did not believe it. How could he heal 500 people? Give me a break. So he starts, and if you heard the story again, you'll probably hear it again. Be patient. He says, everybody close your eyes. I close my eyes, but I'm anxious. And I'm not going to stand there with my eyes closed because I've been involved in intelligence, and you don't hang out in a room full of people with your eyes closed. You have your back up against the wall and you're looking around. That's just the way it is. So I close my eyes. A couple minutes later, my eyes are open. He had a spirit of his next to every person in that room, and there were probably 500 people. I can do that today, but that was my intention. I was so impressed with that without being aware of it, I said it as my intention. Intention creates reality. That's his astral spirit. So here we go with the fact that this man, Rene Villegas, has a very powerful astral spirit. And when he's in his astral spirit and wants something, he's swinging a bat. He knows how to duplicate himself several times. Well, everybody can do that if their desire to do it is strong enough. But I can bet you that practically none of you really believe that. And that's because you're very lacking in education on what is like almost the biggest problem on the planet. There are really not any bad human beings. There are human beings who are half asleep and are heavily influenced by spirits, some of which are heavily influenced by certain spirits that come from certain planets like Orion. But you don't know any of that. You don't know the hierarchy. The most you probably know is that some souls get lost when they die, and then the devil makes it part of their army against humans. End of story. Well, what does that army do? That army is mentally asleep, has none of their own intentions, and the bad heavy-duty spirits that control them are focused on you. They see your weaknesses. They see where you're going. They don't want you to go there because that's not good for them or the whole setup, whatever. They want you over there rather than over there. They want you with this man instead of with this one, because with this man, you'll end up being miserable and unhappy and not empowered. And with this man, you'll be much more empowered, much more, whatever. These influences are real, have existed forever, and we have been negligent and irresponsible. When I first started a public person and say that I was a psychic and I'd been trained as a psychic spy, having to deal with everybody like, oh my gosh, it's a terrible person. I wasn't aware of how incredibly important the whole issue of recognizing that you have a spirit that you could duplicate 500 times. And that spirit, in Hinduism, they call it your desire body. So let's say that you are very desirous of being with somebody else sexually, and you're married and you're faithful. You may find your spirit, or that other person can find that your spirit visits at night and has sex with them. Your spirit, you have a physical body, you're in bed with your mate, and your spirit, and you're not even aware of it, but that part of you is very desirous of being with this other person and shows up in the middle of the night to have sex with them. And you can go, wow, wait a second. Sex can have sex. Spirits that have no physical body can have sex with yours at night. And I know that if you ask around enough, you're going to find somebody in the lunchroom, in your family, in your social group, and just say, did you know that some people say that spirits have sex with them at night? And they just get quiet. Isn't that interesting? Just pose it like a little question, like a curiosity question. You will probably have at least one person that will say, oh yeah, I've heard of that. And you may, depending upon how much they trust you, may have somebody say, Yeah, I've had that experience. I'll never forget being in a car. I was on my way to a shoot on the Christina show, and that was one of the things I was going to talk about. Um, and the cameraman said that he had that experience several times and that it was very traumatic because it happens even to men. So, the spirit world and its influences, if you disassociate enough, which the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic tells you not to do, you're going to be totally controlled by spirits. They call it, in my world, a possession issue. In psychology, I really need to get that book that I have written out. I have an entire chapter on, I think it's called Dead but Still Influencing. In other words, people that died and their spirit is still giving everybody else grief. They have several different names for issues of spirit influence, but every single one of the descriptives is a very clear cut description of what those spirits are doing to you. But they don't say that it's a spirit. They just say that's a problem your mind has. Yes, it's a problem your mind has. But you have it because you have a spirit that was able to get close to you, stick to you, or actually even invade you. The parts of your body have spirits invading. When we do mantras, a lot of people talk about, oh, something just left my left arm, or I released something from my second chakra. They could have released a congestion of energy. A lot of times they'll release a spirit. These exorcisms honestly do not really need to be as violent as they are. Um, they can be done a lot more gracefully. And I sometimes wonder if they do that on purpose to scare people away so that they don't say, you know what, I think I'm going to try and release all the spirits that I have attached to maybe be master of my own destiny rather than having all this stuff happen to me. So we're in a new world, a new age. And a big thing that's happening is revelations, which I've talked about. But that revelations is also revelations of the spirit world. And most people are just not ready for it. They get very affected if their dead father's spirit shows up. But all those ETs that are pouring into the planet and more to come, eventually I think everybody's going to be able to see them. Because the third eye, yeah, I guess you can keep pouring fluoride into your third eye and then you won't see them. But basically, practically everybody and the young kids, they can see them. Who do they talk to about that? Their parents who told them that there was no spirit coming out of the closet at night? Something as simple as that. How can we think that denying something that somebody's seeing can possibly be a good thing? Well, it does keep you in tune with society, and that might be really important. Yes, it might be really important if you want society to continue forward the way it is. I think we all agree that society is a mess. And maybe this collapse that we're in the middle of is actually going to be good for all of us. Living the truth is very important. So, another reason why living the truth is important is because the first part in your system that is designed for contact with off planet is the throat chakra that has all those portals that I pointed out: the mouth, the two nostrils, the ears, and a huge one here, which is how we supposedly entered the planet, entered into the physical dimension of the planet. Well, you don't even know you have that portal. And you don't know that the cell phones blow open that portal, which is supposed to open naturally with your consciousness moving up the ladder of the chakras. It's supposed to open naturally. That's what yoga is all about. It blows open prematurely with radiation from the cell phone, Wi-Fi, etc. And then you have contact with off-planet beings. You're not even remotely prepared. You don't know what the heck is going on. So we're in a new age and we're totally unprepared. We don't even know what the old age was about. We don't know that. We don't know anything about memory. and transference of memory. We don't know about transference of energies. We don't know about how traumas open up portals. We don't know that we have 7 chakras underneath the root one, which are literally inside the underworld. We don't know so many things that it's no wonder that we're a mess. And we are a mess. And our children and every generation that is born that's younger is more of a mess and more unhappy and more needing of addictions in order to be able to just make it through the day in a world that doesn't make sense to them. Superpowers are in the third eye, have always been there. We have used them throughout history in certain times, and we've referred to it as mythology. We're gods, but then there's always gods that have more power. So then you had all those battles, and the young people are very much in tune with that. And many years ago, when I took care of a lot of children, many of them and would say to me, and I never asked that question. I think I'm still afraid of superpowers, but they would say that they were able to. It was interesting. They would say that during school, they always kind of told me the same story. And they'd be watching the teacher as she's talking, and then they would try to get the teacher to brush their nose, to raise their hand, you know, to touch their ear, and that they could get the teacher to do that through the power of their mind. Well, if you have that kind of power, why aren't you using it for something great rather than having the teacher scratch your ear? Not approved. That didn't happen. Don't talk about it to anybody. They're going to say you're crazy. We can't get from here to there if getting from here to there, we have to lie our way through the whole thing. We can't get there successfully, which is what's going on. We're going to get there. We're going to be in the new age. The process is going to be a mess because we just don't know enough about ourselves. So here's my message to Rene Villegas. Rene Villegas is a Cuban mafioso, totally into Cuban politics. It doesn't help that there's stuff happening in the Caribbean that he would love to have more information on. And guess who he always pumped for information, never paid a penny to, always held a gun to my head, threats to everybody around me, including my pets. So he is roaming around, parking on my block at 6:30 in the morning when I walk my dog. I want to send a message to him and his wife. I'm going to create a tremendous public scandal. I have no problem with crazy. They already say I'm crazy anyway. What's the problem here? And I'm going to walk with my camera and I'm going to take photographs and we're going to put it up there. But mainly, Rene Villegas, you know what? Give it up. Give it up. Let go. Let go. Let go. Let go. Rene, no, let's talk to his wife. Mylene, your husband's sick. Sick. This can't end well for him. He's on the wrong side of history. Would you get him out of my way? You and your mother are going to be very humiliated. I know you're afraid of him. I know that. I know that. We're all afraid of him. Get him out. Figure it out. Figure it out. So, I'm a mind control victim. I have a very interesting other life. And I'm going to get to the point, I'm going to get to the part of this conversation where I'm going to say, everybody's asleep. And I'm going to say what they say a lot on X. How come not a single victim? No, how a single perpetrator, the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing, not a single one's been taken to court. Nobody's in jail. How do you think people like me feel when all of you are that asleep that that's the most that you can do is to make a sarcastic remark? How come Trump is guilty? Because he put something he paid in the wrong line in accounting, and you have people such as Rene Villegas and his whole group. They're all old, by the way. The people that I'm talking about, I'm Cuban. This is not about Cubans. This is about a particular group, okay, that were involved in a particular invasion decades ago. What's going on here? That is, my situation is just an example of what's going on for a lot of people. And the rest of you nice people are standing out there making jokes, making little cartoons. Epstein didn't suicide himself. you know what? Maybe there needs to be a little bit more consequences. And what I was saying to somebody this afternoon is maybe socially these people need to be made total outcasts, because I can tell you that if there's something that really distresses Rene Villegas and his wife is the whole social thing. The only thing is people don't believe. So it's like, well, we're not really sure. So, if we see him in a restaurant, we'll have a glass of wine with him. Why not? Why not? What happened to your instincts? Like somebody told me, no, Rene Villegas, he don't know about him, but he always is on the edges of the room. He walks around the edges of the room. That's intelligence work, okay? Come on. What is he not trusting? Oh, yeah, he did spend time in jail because they caught him stealing millions of dollars in a poor Caribbean country. Not nice people either. Okay. By the way, I changed the keys in my home, and I don't, and somebody could say this is not appropriate, Frances. You know what? I need to survive all of this, and I will do whatever it is I think that I need to do to survive. Okay. It's weird that I made it till now, and I'm going to make it to the end because I haven't finished with my intentions. Intention creates reality. I have no intention of losing this battle with Rene Villegas. I have no intention of losing. I have no intentions of not publishing that book and having a good life. So I changed the lock to my home. Wasn't good enough. And I'm not going to tell you why it wasn't good enough because it's a sad story. But I did put in the bolt at the top. 2 nights they tried to get into my apartment. Okay. So they couldn't get in because they can have a key now, but they don't have the bolt at the top. Okay. So today I picked up that they're trying to figure out how they can, because the back door is glass, it's panes of glass, how they can break the panes of glass without it making a lot of noise. So they're thinking that they're going to put tape, and then they'll break the glass, and the tape will hold the glass, and then it won't make noise when it falls on the ground. So I'm going to put a note in the back and say, I know what the game is. I said it on all my social media. Being a remote viewer is kind of neat. And really, honestly, and I feel like crying, I want to use my abilities for the stuff that I find interesting, such as why stem cells work, what it is we can do to protect our kids from radiation, why somebody gets sick, what happens when they inject you for something. If you have cancer, prostate cancer, what does that injection have in it, and that's the kind of stuff I find. To me, that's like an adventure in the other dimensions. I don't want to spend this having to watch my enemies. But I deeply resent this society that has allowed itself to be put so asleep, because I'm not the only one who's suffering. It's millions of people, the children of people like me, the great-grandchildren. What kind of an inheritance? How much respect? Well, first place, there's no respect for us, but how much respect do you think we have for all of you guys that are sitting there, taking it in and not doing a single thing? And by the way, the trick is not to see if I'm mentally ill, because unfortunately for everybody, when I came in the 90s and started my therapy process, I was sent to the best people at the University of Miami, the psychologists, and I was sent to a psychiatrist, but only to meet him in case I got out of control. I needed medication. I never took any medication. I still don't take any medication. We'll figure this out on our own. Thank you, medical professionals. Stay away from me. And I worked with the number one mind control specialist in the Americas. And you know what he said to me? He said to me, I don't think I can help you because your mind control programming is very sophisticated. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. And it still is. So we are now going to be all about you. And how did you come to this event today? No, I got one more thing I have to tell you, but it's not about me. You know that a month and a half ago, I discovered that the movie Matrix was trying to tell us something really important. And that is that we have tubes inserted in us. But I had only found one tube, which was in the back of the liver. and it goes to Orion. And it infuses us with paranoia, rage, hatred, irritation, frustration, unhappiness. That's why it's so hard to heal the liver. Okay, so we learned how to cut it, and I have learned how to cut it, and you can cut your implants. It's on my website, francisfox.com. It says cutting Orion, but the problem is there's another tube into the back of our heart and our belly button that used to have a tube, the umbilical cord to our mother. There's another tube there that's channeling stuff into us, infusing us with stuff. Planet of free will? I don't think so. So these implants, I think I'm in a state of shock about the implants. I wasn't expecting it. I've never heard anybody else talk about this other than the movie The Matrix. It turns out that they do refer to implants in a lot of science fiction movies, the ones that have to do with superheroes. But this is a way they keep us down. Without those implants, we are what we were supposed to be, which is really, really good people that want very simple things, where everything kind of revolves around our love for other people and their love for us. We can't be that with all the implants, and we can't take care of the implants if we do not see them. If we didn't know that they were there, and these have been there, I have to assume forever, because where I got the hint for the fact that there was something going on with the liver from the back was from Jesus Christ on the cross, where the lance of the soldier that was guarding him pierced his liver. And I just said instinctively, there's something with the liver. There's something important with the liver. And I have a friend of mine whose name is Rosie, and she was studying the liver. And I said, something is important with the liver. The implant in the back of the liver, the first one we found. So you need to be working on yourself. And I can tell you that if you're emotionally not happy and you want to be everything you want to be and you want to have superpowers, when we are scheduled to have them again easily, which is now, that you really need to look at the other dimensional aspect of yourself. That is why modern medicine is so, I feel like saying a bad word, so incredibly ineffective. Your physical body is a symptom of what goes on in the other dimensions with your other energy bodies. And then on top of that, you have all the spirits. And then on top of that, you have subconscious intentions of your own that you're not even aware of. There's too much that you don't know about yourself because it's not in the physical dimension. I don't know how powerful the medical mafia is going to be after this uproar about how we were misguided having to do with the plague. We've always been afraid of the medical mafia. I was told in the 90s by 2 lawyers, you can't use the word healing. Oh, no, 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 no. Only doctors can heal. They wouldn't even dare to use that word. Nope. So then nobody on the planet's allowed to use the word healing unless you're Jesus Christ. Oh, but wait a minute. Jesus Christ first threw out spirit. So we can't be talking about that too much, because then people start with the whole spirit thing. Because you see, if you're not Jesus Christ and you're not an evangelist and you work with spirits, you're working with the devil. You're not good people. Oh, so I have to become an evangelist in order to work with spirits. See, it's the whole thing is like a little bit nuts. So anyway, you need to know about your portals. Your kid totally changed his personality, became more violent, more frustrated, doesn't want to go to school, doesn't want to. This portal got blown open. The one here, right here, right here. That needs to close. And that portal has a tube in it, which all these years I've been charging $300 to close the portal. I never saw the tube. Actually, I still can't see the tube. I can see the tube in the back of the liver. The other ones, it's kind of harder, and I can't see this one. So I have to make it my intention to be able to see it, because that one's really well hidden, because a vast majority of people have that today. That's why, and it infuses in you a lot more. I really have to ask my friends, the dolphins, about this, because it's very upsetting. Because when I see people, a lot of times I see their spirit. It's going to reach a point where I'm going to see people and all these tubes going into them. It's not a pretty sight. It's not soothing to see this. Anyway, so let's go ahead and work on you. And I don't know where I got all this. 1 second. And I'm going to sketch right now what you look like before you got here. And what I'm finding is that before people come to these little chats that I'm doing, they look exactly like you're looking right now, which is depressed. So we're going to do the mantra and the music. Renee Villegas and Mylene, not sure how it's spelled. You should do it also. Maybe you can get more clear-headed before one of your old partners in crime decides that you're behaving so poorly that you're calling a lot of attention to that Cuban mafioso group. And so in Washington, maybe somebody's going to say, hey, what's happening in Miami, which there's too many cowboys down here, intelligent cowboys. Maybe we need to get this guy to shut up. So maybe before that happens, Renee, maybe you might want to back off. It might be a really good idea. So, and honestly, I don't care if you're criticizing me and saying, well, she's taking up all the time to talk about herself. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. And you know what? The most liberating thing in the entire world is to reach the point where you understand that most people don't believe you. And you understand that people can't hear you. They don't want to hear you. They don't believe you. And then you get used to it. And then you're free. I am more free than most of you. You guys are all living a lie. Wake up. Because I know it's not your intention to live that lie. You need to wake up and then hold hands with everybody else who wakes up and then go, I forgive myself. I forgive myself. I didn't know. Forgive them, God. They know not what they do. But you got to wake up. And then you need to talk to other people and say, look what I noticed. Look what I feel. How about you? And you need to give each other permission. When the plague came, nobody gave anybody permission to talk about any instincts, any awareness. By the way, oh my God. Hydrochloromectin, whatever, one of the things that's recommended for the plague, it also has stuff in it for spirits. Ivermectin has stuff in it for spirits. Interesting. Oh, but we can't go down that path because we don't even believe in spirits. Well, you know what? Maybe that's how come they can pull the wool over your eyes. Okay, wake up. And don't get upset at yourself. You can be a little bit sad that you didn't wake up before, but don't waste your time beating up on yourself. Do a mantra. Even though I hate myself for being asleep, I love and accept myself. And then move forward. You have a family. You have people that love you. You have people that you love. Wake up and then start to little by little communicate what you have woken up to, whatever it is in your life. The fact that you hate your job when supposedly you love it, don't tell your boss and don't tell the people that work under you because that's not going to work. I can tell you that. I'm not dumb. But wake up to that because that's the only way you could possibly maybe put yourself on a path where you could be happier, to look at what is making you unhappy. So it's in many different arenas where you need to wake up in order for the world to be better for you. And then, of course, it needs to be better for other people. Now, the only thing that I need to find out right now, because I didn't have the chat on, is to find out that this is not a recorded chat. But yes, this is recorded. Somebody's giving me permission to say I can say anything I want to get it off my chest. So Mantritas Italia is saying my mouth is getting black. Yes, it's depressing. And I would like to say more. And I smile and I make a little joke about it. It's not a joke when you go to bed at night and you don't know what the plan is. So you're going to say to me, why don't you move? Yeah, I could do that. You don't understand the networking of evil that exists in the world. You don't get it. And the unfortunate part is most people are asleep. So the really evil guys are able to manipulate the people that are not evil, but like in my case, what is being said not so much anymore, is that I am destroying the Cuban reputation because I'm not Cuban, and that I know a lot of Cuban secrets, and I'm mentally ill. So you know what? You got to keep her down, keep her under control, keep her sat on because, well, I'm Cuban. My kids are Cuban. My grandkids are Cuban. I'm not trashing Cubans. I'm trashing a particular group of people, and I'm not really trashing them. I'm saying the truth, which ends up trashing them. And then I'm going to go back to the fact that their biggest problem is their shame, which is the biggest problem with humans. And I think a lot of people are not going to wake up because they're going to be ashamed. Go ahead, be ashamed. Go to the people that you maybe didn't believe or whatever, apologize and say, you just couldn't accept it. I get it. So we're going to go ahead. Parasites, they recommend ivermectin. Parasites are spirits. Spirits come in all shapes and colors, including the movie The Blob is accurate. In Venezuela, and maybe you guys have heard this before, in Venezuela, they have something called La Mancha Negra, which is the black stain. They have it on the road between Caracas, the capital, and the airport. 2,000 people have died. And the only thing, they wash it and it comes back. Well, you wash the physical dimension, but the spirit is still there. The only thing that controls it for the longest is limestone, earth energy, which is in what in the Lord's Prayer is recommended, having to do with protection from evil. So grab yourself a tree and it will help to protect you from evil. It's really important. So the mantra that we're going to do is, even though I'm afraid and want to die, because I want to see your mind streams blue. Oh my God, I just saw something today. There is a graphic on AI from Apple that they're doing some stuff with AI. Let me talk about AI a second. AI, artificial intelligence, is a portal to other dimensions and to spirits. It's a portal. And when you get artwork that is done in AI, it's a portal. How many pieces of art do you have in your documents on your computer that are portals? This particular graphic is an identical copy of what I sketched for all of you several weeks ago, where I sketched the body and then the strings, and at the end of the strings, there are eyes. And I said, that's interesting. The third eye was huge. I can't retrieve that this minute. I said, there's an eye at the end of all the mind streams. That is a graphic. I don't know if that was put out by Apple or if it was somebody just referring to Apple's new AI that apparently is going to collect all your data, et cetera, whatever. And they had the eyes. So the people that know more than most of us know all about this. So the mantra, even though, give me a second, even though I am depressed and want to die. And by the way, I'm not doing this for me. This is also good for me. We found that this mantra is the one, together with the peace mantra, that brings back the 3 pyramids of protection. That's why we're doing it. And by the way, I don't need any other excuse other than the collective mind. Where did it go? Here it is. This is the reason why we're doing it. Okay? So here's the mantra. And I'm going to put the trilling music on, which is what you should have in your home and in your car. Elon Musk, give me a break. Let's get it in the car to offset the electrical radiation in your electric cars. Give me a call. So here it is. You don't have to give me a call. Get music that has a frequency of trilling. Get it built into the car. Put in the remedy for the issue. Don't ignore the issue. Here we go. And we can do this for 10 minutes. Never sure where it's going to talk to you. I'm not sure you're going to be able to hear me. No. Okay. Okay. They made some changes on the platform, and I'm very slow learning new, very interesting today, the way you look. This is how you came in, very depressed, no protection. This is 5 minutes into the mantras and the music. You're here, but here's your protection. You got your three triangles. You're not in it. You're disassociated. You're gone. But at the end, you landed associated with the earth element, which is in the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. That's how you're protected from evil. And then you have your three protection. Half of the mind strings are Nile green, the color they're supposed to be. Your two eyes are awake. You don't have the third eye awakened. It's very painful to be awake. It's really painful. So this is good. But if you hadn't come here, this is how you would be doing life. Okay, so that's it. I promise I'm not going to talk about Rene Villegas tomorrow unless he tries to break through my back door. I did send a couple of messages to the mayor of Coral Gables. His name is Lugo, something like that. But I think he's a friend of Rene Villegas. So I'm not going to get any respite there. And I have already spoken to the police in Coral Gables, and they have 7 reports, half of which they say to me, you know what, you're right, this is kind of weird, this is happening, but it doesn't go any place but there. I think that we have a lot of people that had a lot of power for a lot of decades. And even the people that are supposed to be controlling them, like from Washington, cannot control them. This is not a good thing. And I think everybody is afraid of everybody because they all have something to hide. And then throw into the mix black magic that this particular Cuban mafioso group is so good at. You got one royal mess. We'll see you tomorrow. Estela, you put on there that at one point my mouth got black, which should mean that I was saying something that wasn't 100% true. Do me a favor, drop me a line and tell me what it was that I was saying at that point, because I want to catch that and see what that it was all about. Okay? Yes, Medusa has all those strings. Oh, I didn't realize Medusa has an eye at the edge. If you wait a minute, I'm not going to be able to find it here because I'm on the different computer. Tomorrow, I will show you that image of Apple AI with the eyes that is just like Medusa. We're in crazy times. People like me are not crazy. We're trying to give you advanced information, but only advanced because you're slow and because you believed authority. And authority was influenced. And they themselves, most of our authorities, believe in spirits when they go to church on Sunday, and Jesus Christ removes spirits first, because if you're sick, why wouldn't he remove spirits first? He was a shaman. But don't you dare try it, because then you're working with the devil. See? You can't win. But we're going to win. You know what? We're going to win. Now, we may end up winning because we're going to get separated from the people of the lower vibration who are not awake and are still carrying everything. I don't know. I'm talking too much. Love you all. Bye.